Currently, Earth. It was September 7th in 1776. During the Revolutionary War, the American submersible craft Turtle attempts to attach a time bomb to the hull of British Admiral Richard Howe's flagship Eagle in the New York harbor. It was the first use of a submarine in warfare. Submarines were first built by Dutch inventor Cornelius van Drebbel in the early 17th century, but it was not until 150 years later that they were first used in naval combat. David Bushnell, an American inventor, began building underwater mines while a student at Yale University. Deciding that a submarine would be the best means of delivering his mines in warfare, he built an 8-foot-long wooden submersible that was christened the Turtle for its shape. Large enough to accommodate one operator, the submarine was entirely hand-powered. Lead ballast kept the craft balanced. Donated to the Patriot cause after the outbreak of war with Britain in 1775, Ezra Lee piloted the craft unnoticed out of the 64-gun HMS Eagle in New York Harbor on September 7th in 1776. As Lee worked to anchor a time bomb to the hull, he could see British seamen on the deck above, but they failed to notice the strange craft below the surface. Lee had almost secured the bomb when his boring tools failed to penetrate a layer of iron sheathing. He retreated and the bomb exploded nearby, causing no harm to either the Eagle or the Turtle. During the next week, the Turtle made several more attempts to sink British ships on the Hudson River, but each time it failed, owing to the operator's lack of skill. Only Bushnell was really able to competently execute the submarine's complicated functions, but because of his physical frailty, he was unable to pilot the Turtle in any of its combat missions. During the Battle of Fort Lee, the Turtle was lost when the American sloop transporting it was sunk by the British. Despite the failures of the Turtle, General George Washington gave Bushnell a commission as an Army engineer, and the drifting mines he constructed destroyed the British frigate Cerberus and wreaked havoc against other British ships. After the war, he became commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers stationed at West Point. On September 7th in 1813, our country got a nickname, Uncle Sam. The name is linked to Samuel Wilson, a meatpacker from Troy, New York, who supplied barrels of beef to the United States Army during the War of 1812. Wilson, stamped the barrels with U.S. for United States, but soldiers began referring to the grub as Uncle Sam's. The local newspaper picked up on the story, and Uncle Sam eventually gained widespread acceptance as the nickname for and personification of the U.S. federal government. In the late 1860s and 1870s, political cartoonist Thomas Nast began popularizing the image of Uncle Sam. Nast continued to evolve the image, eventually giving Sam the white beard and stars and striped suit that are associated with the character today. The German-born Nast was also credited with creating the modern image of Santa Claus, as well as coming up with the donkey as a symbol for the Democratic Party and an elephant as a symbol for the Republicans. Nast also famously lampooned the corruption of New York City's Tammany Hall in his editorial cartoons and was, in part, responsible for the downfall of Tammany leader William Tweed. Perhaps the most famous image of Uncle Sam was created by the artist James Montgomery Flagg. In Flagg's version, Uncle Sam wears a tall top hat and blue jacket and is pointing straight ahead at the viewer. During the First World War, this portrait of Sam with the words, "I want you for the U.S. Army," was used as a recruiting poster. The image, which became immensely popular, was first used on the cover of Leslie's Weekly in July 1916 with the title, "What Are You Doing for Preparedness?" The poster was widely distributed and subsequently been reused numerous times with different captions. In September of 1961, the U.S. Congress recognized Samuel Wilson as the progenitor of America's national symbol of Uncle Sam. Wilson continued his eternity at age 87 in 1854 and was buried next to his wife, Betsy Mann, in the Oakwood Cemetery in Troy, New York, the town that calls itself the home of Uncle Sam. On September 7th in the year 1876, Minnesotans attacked the James Younger criminal gang. Attempting a bold daytime robbery of the Northfield, Minnesota Bank, the James Younger gang suddenly finds itself surrounded by angry townspeople and is nearly wiped out on September 7th in 1876. The bandits began with a diversion. 5 of the men galloped through the center of town, hollering and shooting their pistols in the air. As the town people ran for cover, 3 other men wearing wide-brimmed hats and long dusters took advantage of the distraction to walk unnoticed into the First National Bank. Brandishing pistols, one of the men ordered the bank cashier to open the bank safe. Though the cashier recognized the famous face of the dangerous outlaw Jesse James, he stalled, claiming that the safe had a time lock and could not be opened. As Jesse James considered his next move, a brave or foolish bank teller made a break for the back door. One of the robbers fired twice, hitting the teller in the shoulder, but the man managed to stumble to safety and sound the alarm. The citizens of Northfield ran to surround the bank and mercilessly shot down the robbers as they tried to escape. A 19-year-old medical student shot one gang member, Clell Miller. Clell Miller continued his eternity as a result. The owner of the Northfield hardware store shot and wounded Bill Chadwell, peppering his body with bullets from a rapid-firing Remington repeater rifle. Bill Chadwell also continued his eternity on this day. Jesse's brother Frank was hit in the leg, while their criminal partners Jim, Cole, and Bob Younger were also badly wounded. Jesse was the last one out of the bank. After pausing briefly to shoot the uncooperative cashier in the head, Jesse leaped onto his horse and joined the rest of the survivors as they desperately fled the town. For the next 2 weeks, a posse pursued them relentlessly, eventually killing or capturing 4 more of the gang members. Luckily for Frank and Jesse James, the two brothers had decided to go their own way, escaping to Dakota Territory. After things had cooled down, they went to Nashville, Tennessee, where they started rebuilding their gang and planning new robberies. All historic information documented on this audio file can be verified on History.com.